Welcome to our first interview with cast and crew of Theatre Night in Merrickville. I'm Helen Steinberg, the president. With me today is Graham Thomas, one of the founding members of Theatre Night in Merrickville. Welcome, Graham.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Can you tell us how Theatre Night in Merrickville started?
I can. I'll try and keep it as short and sweet as possible. In 1976, they were trying to raise funds for a medical center in Merrickville. And the board approached Arnold Connerty, who was a teacher at 1,000 Islands in Brockville. And one of the courses he gave was theater arts. And they had recently put on a production of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And they asked him, or invited him, to bring his cast and crew, etc., to put on do a theater night in production in Merrickville at the community center. And he was absolutely thrilled. All the kids were absolutely thrilled. And this has been arranged in sort of before the school broke up for the end of, for the summer recess. And Arnold was just absolutely delighted. And unfortunately, the girl that played the piano was killed in a car accident.
Oh, dear.
And that blew everybody away. And needless to say, it was a great loss to Arnold. First and foremost, one of his, cherished pupils. But they couldn't put on a show. And for a couple of weeks, he was, really despondent. And, it was a great loss. Anyway, Carol and I, we were his next door neighbor. We said, why don't we put on a play? Because he was saying, what am I going to do? I can't do anything. Everybody's blown away. So we said, well, let us do something. And so he thought about it and thought, okay, this is a great idea. And he thought he'd start off with 3 one-act plays and, put it out about the village. And there was a phenomenal response. 20, 30 people were instantly, enthusiastic about it. And I'm trying to remember the 3 plays. One was Resounding Tinkle.
Which you were in, right?
Yes. And then there was Save Me a Place at Forest Lawn. And then there was a Victorian melodrama. I do not remember the name of that play.
I actually have the name, Graham. It was Curse You, Jack Dalton.
That's it. Anyway, cut a long story short, it was a one-night stand. 500 people came and sat in the community center. This was before any of the, you come in from the parking lot. There's a barrier. It was all open. 500 people. And they got into it like you wouldn't believe. With the melodrama, they were booing and hissing. It was phenomenal. It was just magical. Anyway, that was the beginning. And then I guess that was in the fall. And then everybody said, well, what are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? Anyway, cut a long story short, we did that old chestnut, Our Town.
Yeah, that was in the fall, the next fall, actually.
Yeah, it was great. I remember I did some quick doodles, some photographs of cast and crew, and then did a little brochure, a little cover for a brochure. I've got it somewhere. You probably got it up in the what do you call it?
The archives.
Yes, that's the word.
Yeah. Now, it was interesting. How on earth did you get 500 people in? I know nowadays we build an elaborate stage and we put up risers.
Oh, okay. They used to be 2. I think they were 8 feet by 16 feet. 2 raised daises on wheels, and they clustered them up together. 2 together, and that was the stage set, and everything was on the flat. Everything was on the flat.
Yes, the people sat on the floor. Well, not on the floor, but they didn't have the risers like we do nowadays.
I think they got. I don't know where they begged, borrowed, and stole chairs from all over the place. Lions Club, community center. But I mean, it was big enough in those days because it was one big open space, with the exception of the kitchen.
Oh, so there was no cloakroom like we know now, and that's storage.
You came in through that back door, and that was it. You were in the community center.
Ah, interesting. Good.
Yeah.
Now, our town is quite a large cast, I believe, right? So where
Yeah.
did you get all your actors from for that?
Well, they were all local people, little kids, Well, I don't know how many parts are in it, but nobody had to do 2 or 3 roles or anything. Just everybody was game to do it. I mean, besides which, we all wanted a medical center anyway, because I think the only doctor we had in town in those days was Robin Conway.
Was it? Okay. And then when we had the center, Bidmead came on, I guess. Graham, had you
Yeah.
been involved with theater before you got involved with this?
No, I had not. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, I've got quite the ego and, I love prancing around on stage.
How many plays have you been in? Have you any idea? I know at the beginning you were in a lot. I looked through some of the old programs.
I think a safe number would be, say, 15,
Oh,
I was in Our Town twice. I think we've had 3 productions of Our Town, and I've been in it twice. The first and the last. The first one, David Honeywell was the stage manager. Then Shirley Malloy was,
right.
I think, in the second one. I had moved away from I was living in Ottawa at the time. I came out to see it, but I was not participating. And then I moved back to Marrickville, and then I was in the third one where I think it was it Brian Fitzpatrick who was the stage manager?
I think so. Yeah. With me, I know Arnold directed the first one, but did maybe Jim direct the second one or the third one?
He was still alive, so he probably did.
Okay.
Yeah. He died in January 1990, so he wouldn't have been in the third. He wasn't around for the third one. I think Malloy.
Yeah, Tim probably.
Mr. Malloy, Councillor Malloy.
How else have you been involved with Theatre Night in Marrickville other than on the stage?
Oh, I did a lot of posters, for the drawings for the posters. Actually, I've got a file of my original drawings, and then they were taken to the printers.
Right. Oh, that'd be interesting.
I could donate those if you wish.
That would be very nice. Okay. Do you have a favorite role?
Yes. Yes. What was it? Run for Your Wife. I think the character's name was Stanley.
The guy who was pretending to be a farmer.
Yeah, and there was one. I think it was final dress rehearsal. Peter and I were the two. Peter
Bois.
Monsieur Bois. Sorry, Peter. We had our little scene, and there was a word coming up that I couldn't say or pronounce properly, and I'm going to and I thought there's only one way to get out of this, and I turned to the audience and I said, I can't even remember the word now.
It was inundated. I still tell that
story. I turned to the audience and I said, I can't say the word inundated, and I got a standing ovation, and we carried on. Yes, I kept going. I got that was a lot of fun. And then another role I liked was the bird in the field. That was it. And then I had a disastrous experience with the black Bunspiel. What was it called? I played a Scottish guy. I didn't want that role, and my body didn't want it, and I totally screwed up. I froze on stage. I did a lot to my ego because I really loved playing, and that kind of threw me for the longest time. I've been in a couple of small parts since, but I've got to the point now where I'm just told to remember lines. I can't even remember my name sometimes.
I'm the same way. Okay, you said that you had done drawings for the posters. You'd done the posters, which of course then would go on to be the cover on the program.
Correct.
Any other stage painting, anything else like that, or?
I've helped with. I don't recall doing any. Oh, I did some stuff for. We did a Marg Sherman. I think it was her first play that she directed, and I did not so much stage set as some properties, props. I did a drawing of Brian as a teddy bear or something like that. You know.
Okay. What would you tell somebody who is thinking about becoming involved with community theater?
Oh, you'll love it. No, I encourage it. I was just thinking about it this morning, sort of in anticipation of being on this, this interview thing. It's sort of like giving back to the community. You do it for the fun of it, the fun of being with your fellow comrades and members of the theatre group. It was a lot of fun.
We make a lot of new friends too, don't we?
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing this, Graham. It was good to find out how Theatre Night in Marrickville started, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you for inviting me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.